Bucknutters, welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Friday, July 14th, 2017. I am Dave Biddle, and I'm very happy to be joined by Patrick Murphy. Patrick, let's talk about the best quarterbacks from the Tressel and Meyer eras thus far. So basically the best Ohio State quarterbacks this century. We'll go in reverse order. I did a piece for the site yesterday ranking the top 12 quarterbacks in Ohio State history in order. So my list is kind of already out there as far as the best of just the Tressel and Meyer era. So I'll go in reverse order. Number 5, I have Craig Krenzel. 4, I have J.T. Barrett, although I think J.T. is going to be higher than that after this year. 3rd, I have Terrell Pryor. Again, I think Barrett and Pryor will probably switch after this year. 2nd, I have Braxton Miller. Number 1, I have Troy Smith. Give me your top 5, sir.
Yeah, it's pretty similar to you. 5, Craig Krenzel, obviously a national championship winning quarterback. I know some people argue he's a bit more of a game manager, but it's hard to argue with what he did. Anytime you can lead the team to an undefeated season and get to the national championship, win the national championship, especially against the team they won. I know the defense was great on that team and whatnot, but let's not forget Krenzel made it to the NFL and actually played some games, so obviously he was no slouch. After that, I had Pryor. I think that his athletic ability was something that maybe we've only seen in a quarterback and a guy like Vince Young. If he'd had maybe the proper quarterback coaching, had gotten that throwing motion down and things like that, I think he'd be near the top of this list, maybe even your all-time list. Then I've got JT. I know that he hasn't accomplished as much as maybe some people thought after the start of the 2014 season, or the way he started with the 2014 season, but a guy that I think has so many of these records is probably going to break more. And I know that's a credit to his longevity, but he earned the right to start as a redshirt freshman, and I think he needs to be given credit for that. And the fact that he's stayed here, even getting hurt and missing the national championship run, and then not starting at the beginning of next season, he's able to climb the Ohio State quarterback record list. After that, Braxton Miller, and I think JT's fast approaching, climbing up that one in my book. Watching Braxton play was one of my favorite things. As someone watching Ohio State football, the things he could do both with his legs, with his arms, the pass to Devin Smith against Wisconsin when he, during that 2011 season when there just wasn't much to cheer about for Ohio State fans, I think is a memory that, I'm certainly never going to forget. It was the bright spot in a pretty bad year. And then Troy, obviously, another national championship winning quarterback, a Heisman winning, or a national championship playing quarterback, sorry. Hey, probably should have won that national championship. A Heisman Trophy winner. I think, he showed in his, few years here what Ohio State quarterbacks could be, even under Jim Tressel, who had always been considered a bit more conservative. And Troy was the first one that really, showed that they could spread things out and really throw the ball around, even if, he did have a lot of talent around him.
I like it. Yeah, you and I are, the only thing we differ on is I have Terrell Pryor a little bit higher than you. You have J.T. Barrett a little higher than me, but I think after this year, I think that's going to flip anyway, so I think our list will align. A lot of people yesterday were like, how can you leave Cardale Jones off your top 12 all-time list? And I thought about it, and I'm thinking, well, if I could, because Craig Krenzel was the last one to make it. He was 12th on my list. And I thought, okay, if I had to have one quarterback to start a game, I would rather have Cardale than Craig Krenzel, I think. Although Craig was a winner, but Cardale was a winner, too. He's the only Ohio State quarterback to ever be undefeated. It's just such a small sample size. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about 11 starts total, and obviously the 3 in the postseason of 2014 won the national championship. How far down the list is Cardale? Would he be 6th? Like, where would you put Cardale as far as just looking at the Meyer, Tressel eras of quarterbacks?
Yeah, I think you probably have to go 6. I mean, there just aren't that many. You look especially at when Tressel was head coach. There aren't a ton that really stand out. I think Kenny Guyton would probably be right up there behind Cardale just because of the impact he had. Showed some ability that was surprising, but was able to kind of keep the ship afloat when Braxton was hurt. That Purdue game obviously stands out, but I think Cardale is probably right there after Craig if you're looking at this this decade type of thing. The national championship, the fact that he was able to take over under difficult situations, and then the fact that he was able to handle things well the next year. I mean, I know that doesn't impact things on the field. But, when he lost his starting spot, he could have, kind of thrown the locker room into some sort of turmoil. Instead, he handled it like a pro. I know with both of us having been there to cover that, I don't know if those two, JT included, could have handled that any better. Credit Cardale for that as well.
Good discussion there about the quarterback. Let's switch gears and talk about the current team. I'm going to look at the running back situation. Obviously, Mike Weber is going to be the starter. My question is, how much do you think we're going to see Demario McCall and J.K. Dobbins? Do you think those guys are going to be bit players? Do you think they're going to have a consistent role? Just how much do you think we're going to see McCall and Dobbins on the field this year?
I think we're going to see McCall quite a bit. I'm still not entirely sure that he won't get some time at H-back when it comes down to it. I think if you look back to when Braxton was here, they found ways to get Curtis Samuel on the field as well, kind of setting him up for that next year and the H-back role. It was more of a receiver role than necessarily the H-back, but it wouldn't surprise me if they find a way to get McCall some snaps out at H or at receiver just to kind of get him ready, because I do think he is probably the future at that position, though they do have a lot of talent to play there. So I think we'll see Demario. He also just adds a different dynamic than the, kind of power back that Mike is. Small, not as shifty. He can do a lot of good things, Mike, but I think Demario adds some different stuff. As for JK, I think, it's going to kind of depend on what he's able to do. We've seen him in practice. We saw him in the spring game. Things looked good, but it's a different animal when you're playing in a serious game. And it's not like they have a bunch of cupcakes to get ready for the Big Ten schedule. They've got Oklahoma week 2. And, do you want a true freshman out there that might make a big turnover that causes the game? But as the season goes on, I think there's going to be plenty of opportunities where they're up big and you can get a guy like that in the game. And as he proves himself, he couldn't touch it because he's certainly shown potential. But I think we'll see a lot of Demario behind Mike, and then JK kind of sprinkled in, where he fits depending on how he performs.
Let's look at the defensive backfield now. Starting at corner, the 3-man rotation was so successful last year, and you're talking about it's really a feather in Denzel Ward's cap, and he was even rotating with a pair of future first-round corners, Marshawn Lattimore and Garyon Conley, and it was so successful. So I assume they're going to do it again this year. Kerry Combs certainly alluded to the fact that he thinks they're going to do it again this year. So, I don't want to say it's a foregone conclusion, but it certainly looks like we're going to have a 3-man rotation of Ward, Damon Arnett, and Kendall Sheffield. Would you agree with that, Patrick?
Yeah, I think that's definitely the goal. I think what's going to determine that is if each guy's ready. We know Denzel Ward's ready. We're pretty confident Kendall Sheffield's ready just based on, his talent and, being a former 5-star recruit that went to Alabama and what he was able to do at the JUCO level. Damon Arnett, I think, is kind of the question mark there in terms of those 3 guys because, he did have a strong spring. But the last time we saw him playing games regularly, it wasn't super pretty. He lost, he was kind of that 3rd guy at the beginning of the season last year, and he lost that spot to Denzel. From what he said, from what the coaches have said, it sounds like that motivated him to get better. I thought he looked very good in the spring, but, if they have 3 guys, I certainly think they will. Those are the 3 that they're targeting. But I think he's kind of the wild card when it comes to will they or won't they rotate. But if you, put a gun to my head and ask me if they would, I would say I think those 3 work out. The track record is certainly good here with getting multiple cornerbacks ready to go, even at the start of the season.
And we asked Greg Schiano in the spring, might you rotate your safeties? And he said he wasn't sure. He wasn't ruling it out, but he certainly wasn't hinting that they were going to do it. They didn't rotate safeties last year, and they were very successful. He loves Damon Webb. He kept talking of Damon Webb. So anybody out there that thinks Damon Webb might be in danger of losing his job, forget about that. Damon Webb really came on. I was critical of him first half of last year. I thought he really came on and played well the second half. And who cares what I think? Greg Schiano loves the kid, and so he's locked in. So my question is, who's going to be the other starter? Will it be Jordan Fuller or will it be Eric Smith? And regardless of who the starter is, that other starter, will we see a 3-man rotation at safety? So who do you think the other starter is going to be, and do you think we'll see a rotation at safety this year?
Yeah, I think to answer the second question first, I think they'd prefer probably not to rotate as much there just because, like you mentioned, they've had success in the past without doing that. I think that if they are rotating, it means that either Eric Smith or Jordan Fuller didn't win the job. And, you can argue that that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I don't think it's a good thing either. As for who's going to win it, I think that Eric Smith is probably going to get the first shot, at least to open fall camp. He's the veteran guy, a lot of injuries, but certainly has talent, kind of gotten lost when people, talk about the safeties and get excited about the young guys. But, I would like to see him at least get the opportunity first. Jordan Fuller certainly has a lot of talent, so I wouldn't rule him out. But I think, again, day one starter, if you're asking me who I think it will be, I think it'll be Eric Smith. Just, if for nothing else, if they're tied, let the upperclassman get his first crack at it.
Great stuff from Patrick Murphy. I really appreciate it, Patrick. And thanks to all the listeners out there for tuning into the show. I hope you have a great day and a great weekend. Let's hear that Buckeye swag, best in band in the land.